All right, guys, welcome to Spencer's channel right here. I'm breaking a cardinal rule that I set for myself earlier this year, and that is to not do a podcast until the start of next year. And the reason for this was because I've been having a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I wanted to do it out of wisdom and experience, and I've probably gotten like 5 or 6 different podcast requests. But this one worked out really well organically. Spencer, by the way, shout out to you, man, because you drove all the way here. Like
not a problem.
2 hours or something, right?
Yeah, it took a while, but
dude, thank you for doing that, man. Not a lot of people will, make the effort, but you guys can at least see the dedication that, us YouTubers have within the game. So, obviously we don't need to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
You're crushing it within the space. But tell us more. I feel like I'm leading this. I'm sorry if I do. You lead me if I lead,
No problem.
Anyways, all right. So just to give you guys a little preface, what's going on here. Spencer and I linked up. First of all, Spencer, I want to say thank you for always being just a really good, someone who provides a lot of feedback in the comments, someone who supports, the channel. And that's actually one of the reasons why we got connected because, at this level of YouTube, I've seen a lot of people come and go, people who reach out, but I've always just been wanting to connect further with people that I feel like are more of that supportive level and people that are hardworking. So, we did that. We got connected over on Instagram, I think a few weeks ago. Since then, took like a 2-3 hour long call, just bouncing off ideas, seeing where I can help you with your channel at.
Yep.
I had this whole trip to Austin planned, and I'm at a coaching summit and with Brandon Bouchard, and I discovered him because Kajabi flew me out for their conference, and he was like one of the best speakers there.
Yeah,
and then I was like, awesome. Next time Brendan's in town, I'm going to fly out there and listen to it. So I'm a day in. We've been learning since 9 a.m. all the way to 7 p.m. right here, and this just worked out well. Yeah. So how's your whole journey been, or even just like getting here?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think you hit that on the head in the sense of like, I wanted to talk more about getting connected with other people in the community too. That's a big reason that I even have this series in the first place. But for me, I started the channel basically back when I was in college. I was studying civil engineering at the University of Texas, which some of the people on my channel know. But I figured out like probably my junior year that I really liked finance, or personal finance especially, like watching Graham Stephan and your videos and a bunch of other people's videos. So I decided to add a business minor, which doesn't do a ton, but at least got to scratch that itch a little bit in the business world. And then started the YouTube channel because I was starting my credit card journey, and I was like, hey, let me just document it from the start basically, because I hadn't seen too many people do that. Again, maybe besides yourself. So that's kind of how I got started on YouTube, and then worked about 6 months out of school in the engineering world. Didn't love it, and had the YouTube channel going for me. Didn't have too many responsibilities at the time, and still really don't. So I decided to take it full time. So now I'm doing YouTube full time and getting to have experiences like this on a random weekday because I don't have specific hours at work. So that's kind of how I got here, and just love getting connected with other creators like yourself. So it's fun.
How would you say your journey as being a YouTuber has been? Like, what's one word that would describe it?
I mean, I'd say it's a grind for sure. I think that's one good way to describe it. Whenever I tell people, or people ask me for advice on like getting started on YouTube, how you go about that. And for me, it's all about consistency. Of course, we have to be consistent on the platform, but that consistency comes from a passion, Like if you have a passion for what you're talking about, then it's easy to be consistent. But a lot of people, I think, get started on YouTube with the sole purpose of making money, being the driver, which I think is a really easy way to burn out. So I think, it is a grind though. Even if you love it, it's like, trying to post every single week or more than that with good content, trying to get better every week, doing all of it yourself is really tough. So I have empathy for anybody starting a channel now, and I'm sure you do too.
No, that's a really good answer. Yeah. What would you say out of YouTube feels like the biggest grind?
For me, it was always the editing. Yeah, I think that's everybody.
Dude.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there, this is why finding editors is so important.
Yeah.
Right now, though, thank God, because we have all these little AI tools. There's one that my team uses. The name of it is slipping right now, but it pretty much chops up all your the mess ups you have within your video.
That's nice.
Yeah, and that didn't exist for us. It just came out like 6 months ago.
Right.
So that's a really good tool. If I actually think about it, I'll tell you after this.
Yeah, for sure.
That one will save you at least a couple hours within the process.
Yeah, even this, I was listening to Colin and Samir's podcast on the way here, which I don't know if you've stumbled across their stuff, but they were talking about like a new podcast editing tool. So if you have like 3 camera angles, different mics, it'll automatically cut it all for you, and it's like that's pretty nice.
Yeah, it'll pick up and know who's talking, and then turn that camera on, and that saves you a whole bunch of time in itself.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, luckily, we bootstrapping right now with our one camera setup. Also, the audience doesn't know, you use a Canon M50. That was the first camera I used, but I looked at your camera even further. You have like the Mark II or Mark III.
Really?
Yeah, you have like an upgraded version, because mine, the first version was not as nice as this one is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it didn't say it on the camera. I was looking for it, but yeah, you definitely got a nice upgraded one.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, also for people starting out, I started with my phone. We were talking about that. So you really can start as simple as you want, and you don't have to do all the crazy editing and all that stuff, but obviously it helps. So, yeah.
Well, this is the pathway that I took. I didn't even bother looking into getting the most expensive camera or the lens until I got my system down for actually making YouTube videos, and this will do it just as good. I mean, you have a good wide angle lens, good camera body on there. Dude, I could talk all about camera gear, but I also noticed that you do know like manual settings. A lot of people who actually surprisingly do what we do, they don't know these settings that well, so I was actually impressed to see that you know how to work all that.
I'm glad. That's my first thing. I got a bunch of new gear. We were talking about like yesterday or the day before, and I just spend a couple hours watching YouTube videos like, how do I actually use this device? And that's what I do with cameras. I'm still not great at it, but luckily have a good group of people around me that know what they're doing, so that helps too.
There's a lesson in that. It's all the information you can find. There are experts out on the internet who have it for free that you can learn from any time. You don't need the most expensive stuff. And also, really enjoy these moments. Like, looking back in my journey, I really loved like learning, how this new audio system works, or the feeling of getting your first like 4K camera and then figuring out how to set it up. But dude, you're doing a great job, man. Even just you carrying this light here and seeing that you actually had a softbox on it, I was like, wow. Because there are some people that don't even understand like the concept of that. But obviously lighting is super important within a video. If you get that right, then generally the video itself will look good, even if you have like a very standard setup. So, dude, it's awesome. Well, let's make this podcast like more watchable for broad viewership. So we're going to discuss about credit card stuff, because obviously if you guys are watching us, then that is something we have in common. After we get into the credit card stuff, we'll talk more about the business of YouTube, the businesses that exist outside of YouTube, some of the stuff we're working on. I want to hear from you, since the last time we had our like 2 to 3 hour call, like some of the things that you implemented, if any of that has helped you. And I just want to have like an honest conversation, because dude, ever since I first spoke to you, I was like, I really like you. There's a lot of similarities that we have. I didn't know you were like 23, 24?
Yeah, 23. Yeah.
Wow, dude. Yeah. So like, it's the first time I'm feeling like kind of old, man. I'm turning 27 soon, and I started YouTube when I was like 21 for my main channel. So 5 or 6 years it's been.
Pretty similar path then with me, because that's about when I started 2
years
ago.
And you're on a good path. So how many subscribers do you have now? 10, 20?
Yeah, 10. I'm almost at 11, I think.
11?
Yeah,
Dang.
so pretty close.
The first 10,000 subscribers you get is the hardest.
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
And then after that, you start incrementally growing, and then I told you my journey on that call that we had, but my big growth, it was like grinding the first few years. After those first few years, I got my big just breakthrough month where I gained, I think it was 200,000 subscribers in a single month, and then that year I gained 900,000 subscribers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it just happened in a year, but it took like 3 years to get to that 1 year. And then since then, we're taking a whole new different approach, which I'd love to share with you too, because if I could have done YouTube in so many different ways, that would have saved me time, money, headache, and I told you this before too, but I almost got so burnt out. It's not even I almost got. I got burnt out, period, 5 different times, and I almost threw in the towel. Very close to it. I did throw in the towel, and I was like, well, what am I don't know what to do next. I'm gonna have to make content. So we'll go over a lot of the things that I learned too, because I know that someone's watching this video right now, maybe going through some similar issues, and then this is gonna resonate with them. So, any questions you have, Spencer, right now regarding credit cards, shoot it away. Let's start answering things.
Yeah, let's start with credit cards just real quick. I do want to talk mostly about business, like we've discussed, because that is a big thing I've learned from your channel and just from you in general so far, is the business outside of just creating YouTube videos, which again, it all kind of comes back to, but and what those videos are for both of us right now are credit card related topics. So if you can just explain to the people so they have an idea. Let's start with your journey with credit cards, kind of like where you started, when you started, and how you've been, accumulated the cards you have today.
Okay, yeah. So I've shared this story a few times, but so I'll make it like more into a nutshell format because I probably made 3 or 4 videos where I have like the whiteboard behind me.
Right.
I'm sticking my credit cards on the wall. I'm like going over it. But basically, in a nutshell, my parents had credit card debt. More specifically, my mom, she had credit card debt. So the impression I had about credit cards was that they're evil, they ruin families, and I will never get one. It was when I was on my way to a rugby game with some of my high school buddies, and I've been playing rugby now. Dude, I thought I've only been playing for 6 years. I realized there was a photo of me playing rugby in like 2012 or 2011 actually.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, it's been over like a decade now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I was in my friend's car. His mom was driving like a little red Audi, going over to a game, and the conversation of a credit card came up, and she was like, credit cards aren't that bad, Brian. I was like, really? What do you mean? She's like, yeah, if you know how to pay it off on time, you can actually get free rewards. So that's like the first time I really heard about it, because up until then I just assumed that they were bad for you.
Right.
So it was then when I did some more research. The first card I got was the card that rhymes with Rescover, and and we'll talk about that too. So I don't know. I mean, it's not on my channel, but yeah, Discover, I remember they were just like, we don't want creators talking about our products, so that's why I just don't. They're not on any affiliate programs, but it's also because they requested like, hey, we just don't want any affiliation with some of the blogs, publishers. And I just go with it. I don't want to step on any like publishers' toes or anything, or any of these credit card companies' toes. If they don't want to get talked about, I just don't talk about them at all. But they were the first card. If I were to do it over again, there are many other better products now. But the Discovered, I had the student version, the student IT card, you know that one? Yeah. And you could choose like out of 10 or 20 different designs. Yeah. I had the tape recorder one. Mm-hmm. So I got that card as a student. I was getting good grades, so I think it was like a $20 reward. It's been so long, bro, but I remember I got a little bit of cash back. And so that's how I first got into it. Once I got that card, I did a lot more research on Reddit to see like, what's going on? Because at that time, credit card YouTube was not where it's at now. We don't have like 50 other credit card YouTube channels coming out making content. So I really focused on trying to find information. There was a lack of community online at that time. So this was back in 2015, 2016 when I heard about it. Got into it, got that card, and then I was immediately hooked. When I saw that welcome bonus hit, I was like, oh snap. And that was like, I had probably $1,000 to $2,000 max in my bank account at that time. Right. So when I was playing rugby still, I was working with my dad doing hardwood floors. Eventually that market, it was really good. When he came to the US, family was making okay money. We grew up in Silver Spring, which is not like the best area in Maryland. Mm-hmm. And my family first lived in the basement of a really crappy apartment next to our church. And then eventually we moved into like an actual floor of the apartment. Then they were able to get a house right before the housing collapse market of 2008. Wow. Yeah, so a little bit of crazy background there. But my dad was doing hardwood floors to at least get us into that house. And when I was playing rugby, I was working with him. I was doing the floors. It was tiring on my back. It was a lot of laborious work. I was dying. And my dad would still pay me, though, for that work whenever I came and helped out. So while I was doing all that, kept researching more about credit cards, and it was a very similar time where I realized, okay, with credit cards, the biggest issue I have is I need to spend money to make 30% back from the welcome bonus spend. Right. I knew very quickly on doing the math, I'm not going to become a millionaire from the 3 to 5% back you get. If you want to make a lot of points, it's 2 ways. It's welcome bonus offers, it's referral bonuses. I was like, okay, how do I maximize that? Well, ultimately, to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, you start social media. You talk about credit cards, you monetize that way. And I started making videos on YouTube about credit cards. But that was actually right after my first video, which is just talking about my entrepreneurship journey. So I first got into the whole space, getting into drop shipping, then getting into Amazon FBA. Then I started a marketing agency with one of my business partners. And that was also doing well for us. We helped start the first Major League Rugby team. It's called Old Glory in DC. Now they have a whole thing in the United States. A lot of my friends that I grew up playing rugby with are now like playing professionally on this team, which is awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, so all that happened while I was opening up and starting these businesses. I used these credit cards, so that's when I got all 3 of the Chase Inc. cards. So it was actually pretty quick. Discover It card, then the Chase Freedom card. At that time, it was the Chase Freedom Unlimited and the regular Chase Freedom before it turned into the MasterCard version that exists now, the Freedom Flex.
Right.
And then after that, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, built out the whole Chase ecosystem. And the Chase Sapphire Preferred was the one card that I was so hyped for.
Yeah, that's exactly the same experience I had. Yeah,
it's usually like, okay, you're messing around with the no annual fee cards, and then you get hit with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and you're like, yo, this is a nice card. This is a big deal. I felt like I was like, wow, I moved up.
Yeah.
And then after that, Amex Gold card came out, and it was like perfect timing because when I got that card, it was the first time they revamped it. Because prior to the Amex Gold card being the one it is now, it was like a crappy, flimsy version. It was like the green card, basically.
Yeah.
They upgraded it. As soon as that came out, I was like, let me make a review on this Amex Gold card. Let me at least get the referrals.
Right.
That first video on a channel that maybe had 2 or 3 videos that got less than 100 views, that video within 1 to 2 hours got 2,000 views.
Yeah.
My white balance was all off because I filmed it in my parents' basement. I didn't know how to use a camera at that time. And it was just that, when I saw that traction, I always knew even back then, because I had started to learn the mindset of an entrepreneur, it's that whenever you get momentum, ride it. Whenever you see any spark, like you close a client, go crazy, find related clients, and scale.
Yeah.
Because the hardest part about the business is initially taking off. A lot of people, they cannot get their foot on anything, so they just give up. But if you see any sign of success, double down on it. So that video did like 2,000 views for a channel that had no subscribers, less than 100 views. I was like, all right, I'm gonna make another one. So I made a follow-up video. It was like, is the Amex Gold card worth it? And then I made a follow-up video like comparing the rose gold card to the gold card. And I thought of 5 to 10 different videos that I can make on that one topic. And because that one video started to take off just a little bit, I had enough of an audience base where they would then watch the related video, then the related video. And then slowly, before you know it, I was running like 5 businesses at that time, and I was just 22 years old. I was like, yo, what's going on? So at that moment, my mind was all over the place. I was like, okay, I don't even know how to film. I don't know anything about audio, but I know I need to keep making content, and then I need to make sure our marketing agency is still, clients are still getting taken care of. The e-com brand is growing. But as you know, after that, I started sharing my story more on YouTube, and then it's when I grew. I had the Chase Sapphire Preferred, got all of the Chase Inc. business cards. Then after that, eventually got the Platinum card, then got the hotel cards and got the Amazon cards. And now I'm here. I believe I have 16 or 17 cards because this past year I added a few to the list. The Sapphire Reserve, the Built MasterCard, the Amazon Visa card because I had the Amazon Business Prime card before that. And that brings us here today. I'm got a pretty good setup. There's still a lot more cards I'm looking to get. But as of now, I'm very content with the setup.
Gotcha. Yeah, I want to dive more into that here in a second. I guess just to play off of what you just said, now we're in present day. What are like the credit cards that you actually use? Like, how do you use your credit cards to benefit you now with those 16 or 17?
Good question. So there are some cards that I'm definitely not getting full ROI on, and it actually blends into the reason. One of the reasons is the fact that I'm a content creator. I keep the Platinum because I don't want to cancel it because I know that as a content creator, it still helps in me having that card and having access to it. So a few of my cards are inactive. Like I barely use any of my Chase Inc. cards unless they don't accept Amex. But generally for all my business expenses, I use the Business Platinum card. When I travel right now, I'm using the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. I still have the regular Platinum card, but that is just... I use that as my card for, first of all, like any of the Saks benefits that you get. I try to maximize that. But it's usually when I'm buying something that's expensive, but I can't put it on my business credit card, and I use that solely as I call it a protector card, so I get like the extended warranty and all that. But bro, hold on, my wallet is right here.
Perfect.
Yeah, so.
Well, what's in my wallet? 60-second, what's in my wallet?
Chase Sapphire Reserve card. And then I have a few other here in the back. I keep my Platinum card here. I have my banking card with me. And then my Business Platinum. And that's really about it. I have my Built MasterCard too, but when I'm traveling on instances like this, I know that Chase Sapphire Reserve it's accepted everywhere. It's still a good travel card.
Yep.
And then I just need a business credit card because write-offs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's basically like my daily setup has gotten to that point too, where I have a catch-all business card in the Blue Business Plus, my gold card, and then like my Venture X for travel and catch-all purposes. That's basically all I keep in my wallet now.
Did you hear about the new card, the Venture X Business?
Yeah. That's an interesting one. For me, I can't justify the spend on it.
It's $30K, right?
Yeah, it's like in 3 months, I think. So it's like unless you really have some purchases or taxes maybe or something coming up, like it's a lot.
Yeah, I had no idea they were going to release that, but right before coming to Austin, I visited the lounge by my house at the airport.
Oh, the new one, right? Yeah.
Dude, it's a really nice lounge. The service was great, but I don't have the Capital One Venture card at all right now, so I had to pay $65 to get in. Gosh. And then before you can even go, the guy like mumbled something. I was like, "What did you say?" He's like, "Oh, there's a screen for the tip." And he had the dang iPad with the tip 3 buttons. I was like, "Oh man, I can't not tip this guy,"
That's fine. Yeah.
So all in all, it ended up being $75 for me to be there for 40 minutes.
That's crazy.
The food was good, but I only went in there just to record. So initially I'd put it on my Platinum card, just because that's what came to mind. But then I was like, hold on a sec. This is for business. I'm reviewing this. I want to get some footage of this. So I went back there. I told them to refund it, put it on my business credit card. So I put on the business version instead. But yeah, if you don't have the card, I really don't know if it's worth it because I'm still going out my way to get to the airport really early. And the only convenient aspect is, you get the food for free. I don't drink, so I don't find value in the bar. And, if you have a 6 a.m. flight, most people probably aren't going to try and get there at 3 a.m.
Exactly.
It is a good appeal, though. And I feel like the most useful time that it comes in handy is when you're traveling on a layover. You're planning that in advance, or your flight gets delayed and you're already at the airport.
Exactly. Yeah, and then they have one in Dallas as well right now, which for me would be the only one I could even use. Like the Capital One lounge access for me isn't even really there. I still get positive value from it, and you can get into priority passes and all that. But yeah, I haven't used it for one of their lounges. I know that you have the Reserve now. If you're flying out of Austin, they have that.
I saw that. I literally passed it. Yeah. And by the way, I love the airport here in Austin.
I do too. I like it a lot.
It's one of the best ones. As soon as you get off, you get hit with America. Like the barbecue smell, and like I see people wearing cowboy hats. I'm like, I love it here.
Yeah.
You just have so many places to eat. I was feeling a little under the weather before I got here, and actually the night before, like Monday or Tuesday, I even considered canceling my flight.
Man.
Thank God, though, because I was eating a bunch of kimchi before I came here. Like, no cap, I was eating a bunch of kimchi. And I felt better immediately.
Wow.
And this is because on Netflix, they released a documentary on kimchi. And I was like, wow, this is good. And I was like, yeah, this is healthy. So, the night before with my fiance, just eating a tub of kimchi, I came here. And then that sushi place we're going to hit after this, I got kimchi from there yesterday. I woke up today, I felt 100% fine. Yeah, you see those? You see that black little container? That's all my vitamins. I got like all this stuff, Dayquil, but now I'm like 100% fine. But yeah, so the reason I mentioned that is when I got off Austin, I was trying to find a healthy drink, like a juice, with like some ginger and stuff. There was one, and there was another one right next to it, and there was like another one. I was like, what the heck? There's so many good places to eat.
Yeah.
DC is not like that, bro. There's a Chick-fil-A there, and like some no-name sub place, and like all these little convenience stores.
Right.
And the Chick-fil-A line is like this crazy. So yeah, Austin, the airport here is really nice.
Yeah. You also let me know if you go to that Terrace Lounge or whatever for those.
I'm gonna visit it. Yeah, I'll definitely visit it on my way out. I want to see the outside of it, and I'm excited to see that one.
Yeah. I've heard good things. I almost want to upgrade my preferred to the Reserve one because that's like the best, or one of the only good lounges I could get into in Austin if I want to go. So, but yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad we talked about some credit card stuff. I do want to go back to what I was thinking before, though. Thinking about your business credit card journey as well, just to tie it in. It sounds like from a very young age, you've had like that entrepreneurial spirit, and also just going back to your channel, one of the big ways I found your channel was through your business credit card videos, which you were doing when you were really young, which is super interesting to me as somebody that's young wanting to get business credit cards. So I guess, what do you think has given you that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, and how have you continued to like foster that into your later? 20s?
That's a fantastic question. Easy answer, it's because I grew up so poor, so broke, and I was just miserable living that way. And I got to a point, it was when almost every day I'm hearing my parents talk about how there's not enough money, or, like even the mortgage, they're gonna have to, growing up, I had to loan my mom a lot of money.
Yeah.
And she would always pay me back, but it was to pay the mortgage and just to get by and push the credit card bills out just like another 30 days. But that entrepreneurial spirit didn't exist in me at all growing up in high school.
Okay.
I had no drive, no ambition. And my only focus at that time was just playing rugby and girls. That's it.
Yeah.
Just like going out, partying, or like just hanging out with people, wanting to go on dates. And it was at a certain point I realized I'm so sick of seeing my parents struggle. I'm so sick of not being able to just control my circumstance. And there were many times where I was craving Chipotle and we had no money. I couldn't even eat Chipotle, bro. But my mom was like, you know what? I have $10,000 worth of credit card debt. Here, you can go eat it anyways.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm eating that. I'm like, I got like a tear. I'm like, no, I feel so bad. But it really was that, man. I feel like everyone at a certain point, for the ones that I know who are dedicated to this game, I've seen a split. People who grew up poor, people who didn't. But even on the side of people who didn't, they always want to do something different, whether they're just unhappy about working a corporate life or they just want to make a significant impact. For me, I just did not want to continue living my life in a way where I was always broke. And I did not want to be ever strapped into a 9-to-5 cubicle. And I was doing everything to avoid that. So one of my initial jobs that I pursued was to help others in a different capacity, which was being a police officer. I wanted to be a detective. So I actually worked with like a really cool department within the detectives of my local area. And they were called, I don't know if I should actually say the secret department, but it was a secret department, bro. You need like a secret ID to get in. And some of the things we would do is I was on a SWAT team raid, so I was the intern. They gave me a freaking vest.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was like boom, 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 and then we raided it. Some other crazy moments, man. I was like undercover. There were like 4 or 5 of these cops or like detectives, and we're like sitting in like these like tinted cars, and I'm like looking like this, and they're like literally walking past us, just because I think we had to get like actual evidence, and there was what do you call them, like a protected witness. There's a name for that, bro.
Oh, the witness protection program thing?
Yeah, something like that, where they work for the detectives, and then they get like an appeal treaty where they don't go to prison for a long time. But basically, we were like watching that. But it was cool. I was doing a lot of those things back then in high school, and it was unpaid, but it was all for experience. And I remember I love this. I love the thrill of it, and even just like being able to help people out in a capacity where you can make a difference. It's like one-on-one, helping out with crime and things like that. But at an early age, I've always had the drive of not wanting to work just in a corporate setting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In school, I was a troublemaker too.
Okay.
Got suspended all the time, man. Eventually, I got kicked out, got sent to an expulsion program just because of all the fighting that I did. And then eventually, there was a line that was, they were like, yo, Brian, you're out of here, man. It was a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
And I just didn't. I was always the kid who would like question things. I was like, why am I learning about algebra? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I just had this mentality back then too. I don't like the system. And I still don't like the system. I don't like how the system is built against people. And this is a whole rant, but even just the basic principle of school, like education, pulling out loans. How the heck are schools still charging $50,000 to $75,000 a year for a piece of paper where you're getting hit with the concept of double inflation? We talked about this before, where you're getting a rise of people getting more and more degrees every single year, less jobs that are available, and the value of those degrees aren't equating to much. And then you can get 19, 20-year-olds student loans and put them in debt for the rest of their life, and then even after a bankruptcy, that debt never goes away. It's just like a crazy concept to me. So I noticed that at a very young age. I was like, I don't want to get scammed by this. It's one of the reasons why I chose to go to community college. I had 2 Division I scholarship offers to play rugby. And the issue with rugby is that it's not like a big sport. It's not like basketball, football, or anything like that. And that's partly the reason I got a D1 offer. Like, if all the basketball, football players that are like giant, bro, and they're playing that, I probably wouldn't have got that at that time. But I remember the school, they'd be like, yo, we got you with a scholarship. I was like, yo, no way. Thinking full ride. They're like, yeah, it's going to be like $10,000 off of this $80,000 tuition in state.
That's crazy.
I'm like, bro, what? So yeah, I think just over time, I really learned to shape the way that I thought of questioning the way this society runs, knowing that I do not want to be broke, seeing the struggles of my parents. And then ultimately, it was the mindset shift that I had where I realized maybe I can control my own destiny in this.
Yeah.
Maybe I can escape it. And the town and the city I lived in, bro, there weren't any business owners. The dream is to work for KPMG or Deloitte or like one of those big four, accounting firms or consulting firms. But no one really had a vision outside of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think I resonate a lot too with your start as well. I grew up and my mom was a single mom for like basically all of my childhood. So seeing how much she had to work, like working, doubles all the time, managing restaurants and just to keep the house basically like that. That's hard to watch as a kid, and I'm the oldest. I have a younger sister, but I'm the older brother to her. So
wow.
so that's for me. That's exactly why I've been kind of against the system, or kind of just not against the system necessarily, but just against the idea that my abilities are like capped.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what like the corporate world feels like to me. Is like, yes, you can build your way up and you can make a lot of money, have a great life. A lot of people do that, but at the same time, you are capped to a degree. You're always putting money in somebody else's pockets.
Yep.
So it's like, how do I now take that into my own hands? And maybe it's just a control thing. I just like having the control of my life, and that's kind of what this type of work does. I mean, granted, as of right now, I mainly just have the YouTube channel, but still, that's a first step, at least in my book, of separating that. Yeah.
No, I think being in control of your own destiny is such a beautiful thing. And then it's also what I'm realizing now in this next chapter is not just controlling your destiny, but it's also being able to live your life with purpose.
Yeah.
And we talked about this too before on that call that we had, just like our relationship with God too, because that's like it's a line that, it's really interesting right now. This is actually going to be one of my next videos.
Okay.
Talking about finance, YouTube, and Christianity and what's going on with the world right now, because I'm noticing there are a lot more YouTubers that I didn't know were Christian that are now coming up. And even recently, Jack and Graham had an interview with Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah.
And in there, they had full-on conversations about God, about how Patrick Bet-David, what he believes in. And I thought it was really cool when you told me just about your faith.
Yeah.
And I've been more outspoken about it within the last, I think, 1 to 2 years, since at least definitely my trip in Korea.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, we're going through a time right now where when we're trying to live in purpose, we think even more outside of just making a YouTube video, posting that content, making some money. There's a reason behind all of this. And when we start to have more insight or clarity on what that is, it makes the job that we're doing a lot more fulfilling.
Right.
Right. I don't know about you, but the burnout, man, have you experienced that yet within your...
I don't think I've like fully experienced the burnout yet, which is good. I think that I primed myself to get that way by upping my schedule to 2 videos a week. Like that's a lot of extra work. And if I wasn't working with like a good team around me, like I work with an editing company that does my videos, so that took a lot of the pressure off of me. I mean, that freed up so much of my time. But even then, it's like now I want to expand outside of YouTube, so trying to find a way to balance that, like, adding an extra business to my business while also still putting out the same content, I think primes me for some kind of burnout. But luckily I haven't had anywhere I'm like, I'm just done posting, so I guess that's a good thing. But I want to hear more about your experience with it.
Yeah, well, my burnout has been terrible. The last major burnout that I had was after I was streaming the whole AMC Robinhood content.
Yeah, that's a lot, yeah.
Dude, that was like that meme where the brain's exploding, bro. And it's because you gotta think about 6 times. There's 6 different things all at once. I was reading the chat. I had to give shout outs to donations. People would donate sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars during that time. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I also had to coordinate getting people on my show because I had about 6 guests on that time. I had to coordinate, not revealing like my bank account or something or my passwords on that main screen, because that main screen I was streaming everything for 30,000 people to watch at a single time.
Yeah.
And then on the back end, I'm getting texts from friends like, yo, Brian, do this. Don't forget to mention the merch drop we had. I did a crazy merch drop. I ended up giving all of those profits to one of my other buddies that I decided to collaborate with, and that merch was crazy too at that time. So I was like collaborating all these things, knowing that Robinhood affiliates. I had to give a shout out to Robinhood at that time because their affiliates were paying out really well. And that was actually one of the first days that I did. I think like it was like my first 30 grand day. I never experienced anything like that, and that's
crazy.
That's part of the reason I was like to my merch guy, I was like, you know what, you keep all the profits, bro.
Yeah.
Because that merch too, we dropped so much merch. That first day just blew it out of the water. He had so many orders, dude. It was just crazy. But I was like, oh, this money's infinite. And then I was like, oh, AMC's going to pop up to the moon. But I knew in the back of my head, if there's not a chance that AMC, if there's even like a 10% chance AMC doesn't actually squeeze and like none of this works out, I got to take a step back from all this. Because some people's career ended at that moment where they kept doubling down.
Yeah.
And and I'll tell you, that audience was the worst audience that I ever encountered. Oh yeah, because there was like ape mentality or whatever. Like they had all these phrases, and it was cool during the hype. But yo, the pitchforks came out when the price of the stock actually started going down.
Right.
Yeah, they were going crazy. I was like, I do not want to be on the other end of that pitchfork whole thing that they were doing, because this crowd is intense. They were. I knew they were going to be mad. So I was just like, okay, let me do this. But that's not what caused the burnout.
Yeah.
The burnout for me was the fact that I was doing like 100 things at once. Right. Like when you're looking at 10 things and then you're like researching things, and then I didn't even want to have like a second of just no Brian Jung talking, because I was like, oh, I need to talk more and fill these gaps and continuously have something. And I got to a point, man, back then I was using my old MacBook Pro. I barely had any money to get a new one. And that thing was screaming, dude. Like jet engine. It was like, beep, like, and I could hear the like my fans. I thought they were gonna break. So I remember I drove to it's called the Micro Center in my area. You guys have one of those?
Yeah, we got those in Texas. Yeah.
It was awesome. I went there. I was like, yo, I'm streaming, guys. I need the best of the best. They gave me like an Alienware computer and like all this stuff and a monitor. I get to my house. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to stream in like 5 hours. It was like late. I was like, all right, I got this all unboxed. And I realized, dang it, I've been using iOS and Mac this whole time.
Right.
And this streaming software, I wasn't using OBS. I was using an exclusive app to iOS. I use that.
That's tough.
It was, so I was like, oh, this is all for nothing. So anyways, my computer was still screaming. When I was doing those streams and it was getting to like the 6th hour of the day, my computer was just so slow. It was heating up. Everything was freezing. And it was just a stressful time, bro.
Yeah.
And just constantly doing that, my stomach hurt so bad. Like I have a sensitive stomach already, but like from that stress and not being able to eat, bro, I was in pain for like a whole week. And I thought I had to go to the hospital. If I don't know what like women who are pregnant, like what that feels like, but I felt like it would be close to whatever that was at that time.
That's crazy.
It was terrible.
Yeah. Man, I hope I don't experience that. I'll tell you that much. That is intense.
Oh, man.
But I think people can recognize how much you've put into your channel and just your businesses in general. Like that does take an extreme amount of work. And like I said, I feel like I'm building up to that point, not to that scale yet, but I can see how people burn out. And that's a big thing that I've talked about on my channel with also like Stan the Credit Frog's another guy that I talk to a lot, and his whole mentality on YouTube is like, just don't burn out. Yeah. That's basically it.
It's the long game, man. Yeah. And that's what I realized at that point. I was like, this is the long game. And if I burn out here and have like a 30K month or 30K day, but then I don't do anything later on, what's the point?
Right.
So after that, my break after that was 2 months long. I was off of YouTube for 2 months. And while that was happening, it was like, I just turned off. And I was like, every week I was like, oh, I can do this. Logged into my computer, I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, did you leave us because AMC didn't? And you're just getting a whole bunch of like a lot of hate comments. And that was the first time I had to learn to develop thick skin, because while you're burnt out in your state of, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do next, this is not blowing up either, and all that, I really had to really just persevere.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I was pregnant, and then...
Yeah, exactly. That's where we left off.
And we're trying to prevent Spencer from getting pregnant, too.
Exactly. That's what we're doing here today.
Okay, but... sorry, where was I, bro? Oh, yeah, AMC. What I learned, burnout. Don't get burnt out. I got burnt out. I had to learn to develop thick skin.
Yeah.
Have you had to learn to develop that? You get any hate comments?
Sometimes I don't get necessarily hate comments. I think the crowd that you were working with is a lot more prone to that.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, it's credit card YouTube. Like, some people might think that you have, dumb takes or whatever it is. But, for me, I try to come at all of my videos with the perspective of like, hey, this might not work for you. This might, I don't know if you think the same way, but this is how it's worked for me, and that's all that I care about. So that helps. I think, though, one thing I've had to learn how to do is to deal with negative comments in general. Yeah. Because those sometimes, like you were saying, if you're feeling kind of down about your content or something just not going right outside, like in just normal life, and then you see one of those comments, like for me, I can get 100 good comments, but that one just sticks in my head so hard, and like I cannot forget about it. So that, for a while, I have gotten in phases where I literally like don't look at comments for a few days because I'm like, I just need to take a step back. Which I think a lot of people deal with, even smaller channels. I think maybe smaller channels deal with it the most because maybe it's not you get negative comments, but it's that you don't get comments. And that can also be really, really hard, as I remember back in the beginning. It's like every view matters back then, so a comment's big. But yeah.
I'll share with you some good insight I've learned over the years, man. Whenever you get a hateful comment, there's actually actionable steps that you can take too. Because I know what you mean. When you get 100 good comments and you get that one bad comment, it can like really tick you off. Yeah. Dude, I'm at a point where I've just disassociated myself from like bad comments. Yeah. And because at a certain point, man, if you don't get bad comments, I would even want to say you're not moving the needle.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there, yeah.
On the other hand of that too, bad comments are also very healthy because it's feedback at the end of the day, and I just try to look at it in an optimistic light. Another thing is if you see someone repeatedly leaving bad comments, or even if they do it once, I see it even as a privilege for them to be able to comment on your videos. That might be disagreeable, but this is what I see. I'm making content out here, and YouTube has a fat button that says hide user from channel forever, basically. Yeah. So if you get someone, dude, that's just being a troll, because chances are they're going to continue to be that way, and it's a reflection of who they are as a character. Yeah. And I just like imagine, bro, like dark room, dark screen, got nothing going for it. They're just like in the middle of the night, just like clicking away. Just hide user. They can never comment again on your channel. People might say, oh, dude, that's not how you deal with the problem. But when you get to a level of scale, that is how you deal with the problem. That is how you just move forward with your life, because at the end of the day, the goal that people who hate against your comment or leave negative feedback that aren't, it's not progressing you or doing you any good, they don't want you to succeed. Most people don't. That's the frank reality of the truth. Most people out here want to see you fail, and they'll do that through bringing you down or maybe trying to ruin your day with saying whatever. Yeah. So just taking those actionable steps, and then also just being in a good headspace and constantly just reassuring yourself, because as creators and as people, we are already dealing with our own flesh. We already have negative thoughts. We are already thinking, man, this might not work out at all. I know even now at my level, I get thoughts of that all the time. And if any person out here in the world, if the best elite creators, if the top of the top say, oh, I never question that, or I never ever doubt myself, or I don't have any negative thoughts, they're just lying. Yeah. Everyone does. That's just a part of being human. So by being really reflective of just your own self, and having peace within your own inner world first, and then you getting to a point where you see a negative comment and it just doesn't do anything to you, that's almost a goal that you want to achieve. And it's a fun goal, bro, because you can start seeing yourself progress and just really reflect and be in the moment. If you see something that literally triggers a bodily response from you, take that in, accept it, move on, take action, ignore it or block them. But then after that, man, the next time it happens, just realize like it might affect you less. Yeah. And every time you do that, you realize that you're growing as a business owner or as a content creator too.
Yeah, I think I resonate really hard with all of that. I think for me, I've started to even see those traits start to form a little bit, where I can kind of disassociate from it. I think my first initial reaction these days, which is a good one, if it's just straight up negative, which sometimes are less and less than just like feedback, which is always good in a way. Yeah. Usually I just know that they have something serious, like something's wrong, that is going wrong in their life to have them even say something like that. So it's like you have some empathy there, hopefully, is like the first step. But there are people that are just trolls to be trolls. And that hide user button too, I don't know if it's a funny thing or not, but the one thing about it that makes me feel okay about doing it too is that they can keep commenting.
Yeah, they don't know.
Nobody sees it. So there might be people watching this that are hidden, and I'm sorry, but we don't take the trolls.
No, that's what I love, bro. That's why I get to a point too. I'm like, yo, I can't even tell if this comment's a roast or not.
Yeah.
You know, like, but you know, we'll just hide it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because I think of, dude, the more, and I don't want to say the more hate you get, the better. But we're living in a society right now where I even know some of the best marketers in the world.
Yeah.
The way they're going viral, as an example, Tate, is that they create that controversy, they commit to it, they don't back down on it, but it is from those haters that allows them to have a platform and for other people to listen. Yeah. And back then, dude, we were in YouTube world for a while where it was like, oh, don't offend anyone, don't tell anyone like your political affiliation or whatnot. That's the last thing you ever want to do.
Right.
But slowly I realized, yo, the opposite approach where you just go full on, it's not bad either, as long as you can take it as a creator and it's not going to get to you.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, I think back to what you just said before too about if your videos aren't getting negative comments, then you're probably not moving the needle enough. And that's something that I've realized too. Whenever I see negative comments, I'm like, oh, YouTube's pushing this out to someone new. That's perfect. I haven't seen this person before.
Dude, 100%. And I remember earlier on too, like I got a lot of comments. I was like, yo, Brian, you're too goofy. Like tone it down. And sometimes we might perceive, like back then I would perceive it as a negative comment, but looking back at it now, I'm like, yo, that was actually good feedback for me to be here where I'm at. Yeah. Because I was literally ripping my shirt off in some videos, man. And like, I was like, you know what? Like, I don't care. But there is a level of professionality, I feel like, too. And I mean, there are two different reasons now for this, but it's a reason why back then I didn't cuss on, like I used to cuss in videos, then I decided not to cuss in videos. Now I don't cuss in videos for like different reasons, just because I want to be a better role model, like as, you know, for my faith as a Christian. But back then it was like, oh, I didn't want to get demonetized. And plus, if I cuss, then I'm going to be more relatable, and I needed to overcompensate for that. But now I'm like realizing at this point, dude, just be yourself, man. Like at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, with the rise of like AI too, which is a completely different topic, but I think people really just crave that real like human interaction. It's just going to continue to be more and more craved as things start to just get replicated in scale.
That's
people,
right.
You know, people won't even.
People who copy people's stuff. It's a bad thing. You don't do that out here.
That's a whole nother topic, huh? But yeah, I mean, in general, like I think that people getting to see who you are is what makes you special. I think I told you this on our call, but for me, on YouTube as a platform, we can get into your other businesses here in a second too. But for me, on YouTube, I've always said, one, that I want to document my process because nobody can replicate that. Mm-hmm. It's my personal process. And also, basically, just the sense that you have to be able to stand out somehow. And for me, the information-based stuff that we talk about, I'm never going to be the best at that. I mean, you could just read it online if you want to be the best. Like, I don't want to just put regurgitated information out, but my personality is what can separate me from the rest. And that's, I mean, we're talking, you know, specifically credit card niche of YouTube. That's a small thing, but I think that extends to every business, every part of your life. You don't want to. The best you can be if you try to copy somebody is second best. So that's why I think me trying to stand out with my personality, I don't have any fear that I'm second best to anybody because I'm just being myself. So I think that's important for me.
Being authentic is huge. And then also, this is one concept that I've been leaning more into with all of our other businesses right now, and it's learning what your unfair advantage is. Yeah. Everyone has an unfair advantage, something that gives you a market's edge. One unfair advantage is that if you grew up with even just one loving parent, someone who like poured love out to you and you saw that, that's an unfair advantage that some other people never were able to get. Yeah. But when it comes to business or like even in the aspect of YouTube itself, there are many unfair advantages that people can have. Yeah. Your history, your age, a lot of people forgot that. I remember back then, even when I first started, I was like, listen, I'm young. People see this as an unfair disadvantage, but I was like, let me try to make this like my own advantage. Yeah. So what comes out of it when you're young? Well, one, you're naive. That's a disadvantage, but that could be an advantage where you're trying new things. But also, it's the fact that you're more relatable to people in your demographic. When I see people who are still making YouTube videos, they're 30, 35, or 40 years old now, I'm like, you're like way ahead in there. Yeah. I'm down here, and I'm only one step in front of people. Yeah. And usually, it's not the people that are 10 steps ahead of you that can teach maybe better. It's usually the person that's like just a step in front of you because it's more fresh and clear in their head.
Yep.
So leaning into whatever unfair advantage you have, I think for you, your story or anyone's story that they have, everyone's story is unique and different.
Yeah.
Everyone, dude. Like, I did not know you were raised by a single mother. I did not know even like your background. You were a civil engineer or like your age right now. And it's these things where I think it's so important to share, where you become more vulnerable. But like you said, in the age of AI, this stuff is really the goal to be successful as a creator.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think it's kind of crazy just hearing you talk about your experience too, of how similar we think on these topics, which is why I love getting to do stuff like this, because I've said this before too, that I think so far my most fulfilling thing that I've done on YouTube is connect with other creators. Like I love that part of it. I don't know why, but that's my favorite. Like we have the like-minded thing of we like credit cards. We know how to use them and stuff. But we also have that same shared experience of like the struggles that happen on YouTube. And granted, you are like that one step, you're a few steps ahead of me, but like in age range and stuff and experience level, you are like that person I can look to for some guidance, which is what I love. That's why also like Daniel Braun's another role model of mine, because he's like that one step ahead of me. So that's really important to me, is to get to learn from people like that. I guess in your journey, you started whenever people weren't really doing YouTube like that. So how have you looked up to people in general, not just YouTube, but in business?
Great question. Well, if I put myself back even just a few years ago, there's still always people that were doing it.
Yeah.
They may not have been just as successful, but I always grab tidbits from other people and highlight it, because I haven't met the most well-rounded person yet. Or if I have, it's very rare. Mm-hmm. So my definition of success isn't that you have 10, 20 million YouTube subscribers or you're the biggest content creator within finance. Right. My idea of success is being the most well-rounded person. So if you're growing well on YouTube, you're growing well with your business, but you're also growing mentally, spiritually, with your relationships, you're like, you have friends, you're not getting a divorce and all that. That's when I'm like, okay, I can see this person where I look up to them, and what are some of the things that they're doing that I can model after. I think a big one is books. Yeah. But even right now, like a recent podcast that I loved, and people sleep on this so much, dude. Back like 10, 15, 20 years ago, we could not just hear from like a 100 millionaire or like a billionaire like this. Right. But nowadays, we can access like 100 of them on our phone all for free. So a podcast that I recently enjoyed listening to was Alex Hormozi, him interviewing Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey crushed it. Right. Alex Hormozi crushes it. But Alex Hormozi frames a lot of questions where he's almost getting like coached by Dave Ramsey. He's like, yo, Dave, what would you do if you were 40 years old again? Yeah. And obviously, if you look at Alex's position, he looks up to Dave a lot, and he's getting these answers on what he could do next. Yeah. So just being even like a part of this conversation, even though we're not there, I think that's like insane that we have the opportunity to even do something like that. So whether it's podcasts or even like books, I think those are fantastic ways. But yeah, when I first started YouTube, man, I just found a handful of creators that I can look up to. And I also knew at a time when I was growing to find other YouTubers and creators that were growing with me. And similar to what you're doing right now, like collaborating well with others, that's what we did. And we literally all saw each other go from having like, our first car to like, getting Lambos, Ferraris, whatever, buying our first house, buying our second house, getting a penthouse, to then like literally I've seen all of, like, me and my close friends, we've all gone from like 0 to 100 subscribers. We started talking at 100K subs, and then we all saw each other hit 1 million subscribers, like one by one. We're like, yo, this is lit, and we're all making money, and we're like helping people. So it's having a good community, I think, which is really what propelled me forward too. Yeah, and I think it's important to note too that you do need that community. I think any smaller YouTubers listening too, you can find that community with each other, and I would highly recommend you do that. I attribute a lot of my success to the other guys that I've been doing this with. I mean, I've already talked about a few of them, but it's essential. There are some people within the space where they just don't want to collaborate ever with people, and I realize they either die out or they just don't even hit anything near their potential. Yeah. And the ones that are actively reaching out, the ones that want to work together, dude, you amplify results. And I'm the type of person, man, if I get an idea, if I try a new funnel, if I, get a new business content idea, the first thing I do is I share it with like my closest YouTube friends. I'm like, yo, guys, this is working. Try this out. I want you guys to try it out. And I learn a lot from them. We learn from each other. And that's how I think we've been able to grow past the but the 7-figure YouTube subscriber mark.
Yeah, no, that's so awesome. And yeah, I think like you said too, if you are somebody that's maybe doesn't have that community yet, I think it's really important to surround yourself with not only the right people in your personal life, but in what you learn as well, like who you put in your head basically, which is the books and the podcast aspect of it. Like I think I've learned a ton from just constantly listening to that kind of stuff and just surrounding myself with it, because that just makes your subconscious kind of turn to like okay, what's the next business move I can do? What kind of ideas can I come up with? And that will in turn connect you with the right people.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And it reminds me of a good point right now too. As creators, what we should really prioritize is our ability to learn and then to be able to regurgitate that information to whatever audience that we have.
Yeah.
So if you're able to refine that process at scale, I feel like as a content creator within our space, you're going to succeed well. So this comes down to a newer concept right now, and yeah, it's going to go outside the scope of this podcast, but basically what it entails is this is a skill right now that we're honing in on. It's a skill that I'm realizing too with some of the higher YouTubers. It's their ability to learn new information and to be able to push it out in a fast capacity.
Yeah.
So some people, they'll learn the benefits of the Chase Sapphire card. It's a brand new topic. They never heard about it. But if you're really good at doing that one thing, you can learn something new, share it in a capacity to others.
Yeah.
Bro, you're then what I consider to be a content machine. You're just a machine. And that's what I've seen at the highest scale of other creators doing right now.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's great. I think too, you have to develop the skills like we're talking about, but you also, for someone like yourself, I'd be interested to hear more about the systems that you have in place to be able to, make that skill transferable at scale.
Yeah, really good question. Yeah. So right now we have 5 videos unlisted. We have 7 videos needed to get edited, and then I have like 16 video scripts right now in the pipeline. Jeez. Yeah, so actually the one thing that's holding us up is me just not filming these videos because I'm spending my time building other businesses right now. But it's a great feeling when you're 2 months ahead in video, backlog. Like I went on my Mexico Cancun trip about 2 weeks ago, but that just got posted, yesterday. So we're just going through the backlog. But my process at scale for that, number one, it's delegation. Mm-hmm. It's learning how to delegate, but as a leader. Delegation in its core is just telling someone else to do the task. But the difference between delegation and just doing that, like just, hey, I need you to do this for me because I pay you and you work for me. The difference is you're doing it as a leader and you're doing it in a capacity where they're also operating in what I consider to be their zone of genius, something that they know they're good at, that they're confident in, and that they're excited to do.
Yeah.
If I see one of those factors like not really playing out, it makes me question whether or not they're the right hire or even if the delegation is right for them.
Yeah.
But I was always in my business because I did everything for 4 or 5 years, thumbnails, sponsorships, affiliates, everything, editing, researching, publishing, and then just doing that as clockwork. I always thought that I was the best at it. But I learned when the crypto bull run started, I'm not the best at nearly any of these things. Yeah. There are people who can speak better. There are people who can research better, who know much more, who can edit better, who are more creative. And I realize my role right now is someone who I just need to focus on being able to hire good people and having the skill in trusting others to delegate.
Yeah.
So, now, we have a team. I have 2 editors, and then my editor has also been transitioning into a new role, too, that's been scaling our business. I have my COO, who's also helped out with some of our other businesses and our other videos, too. And it's just getting really comfortable at that. A audiobook I listened to recently, which I think everyone should if you're trying to get to this scale. It's How to Be a Lazy CEO, something like that. Title something like that. I talked about that in one of my previous videos, but that's a really good book to listen to because it'll tell you about the importance of this. And if there's a task that takes you even 3 minutes to do, I would try to delegate that because over time it compounds a lot, and then they learn the skill to do that.
Yeah, delegation is huge. I think for somebody at my size, it's like, what's the next step of delegation? Because I've started with the editors, and even that still takes up a lot of my time. I imagine when you have as many videos going out as you do, it's a lot more of just a process. Like you're basically probably filming, and then they kind of handle the rest.
Yep.
And maybe you do the scripting as well, probably to get it in your voice a little bit. But yeah, that for me, it's still like I'm basically 90% on. I'm not doing the editing, but everything else on the channel I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of trying to break away from doing that so that I can expand into other business areas like you've been able to do successfully without burning out. Again, going back to that.
So what is your biggest challenge right now as a creator? Is it that in itself?
You know, I think for me, it's the finding the right prioritization, because as we talked about in that call, and we can reiterate here a little bit, I love the process of creating videos. I am like the content creator at heart. But at the end of the day, if I want this to be a scalable business that I can actually like live off of for the foreseeable future, the AdSense and all that is fine. But we've been talking about my AdSense got cut basically like in half. A lot of other creators are like that right now. And if you're relying on that, I mean, it's not good. So
Terrible.
It's like, I want to build out something separate from just YouTube. But how do I make that a priority whenever all my time has to go into the creation of these videos? The likely answer is probably slowing down uploads maybe, or delegation, which is also requires capital. So it's like it's a tough cycle to kind of balance right now. And maybe it's just the timing of it's a little bit awkward. And if I was a little bit bigger and had more money, I could do it. But I think there's always a way to some degree.
There's 100% a way to, and if I was able to do it, I know for sure that you can. I know that even delegation in the beginning is hard because you're strapped. You know, cash flow is, dude, especially with the whole AdSense thing getting cut in half.
Yeah.
Luckily, we haven't seen that on our end yet, but it's as if like you're working for your employer and they say, "Yo, Spencer, we're about to cut you 50% off."
Yeah.
That's one of the downsides. There's a lot of upsides to the business aspect that we run, but a lot of people, bro, they want to be a CEO, they want to be a YouTuber so bad, but then they don't realize the stress that this actually comes with.
Right.
The stress of business instability, the stress of all just everything that comes with the highs and the lows of this stuff. And a lot of people will assume that we're just operating. You know, it's always good for us.
Yeah.
You know, they're living the life. Dude, people too, I would say the people who are the most salty in this world are usually actually like on Reddit, because you're the most anonymous in that form.
Yeah.
And even people on Reddit, I know that they do not like credit card YouTubers.
Yeah.
And the stigma behind this is because credit card YouTubers, we're living the life, bro. We're talking about something that we love, and they have to be behind it. You know, they're not able to monetize, and they're behind a keyboard doing it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, first of all, don't even realize half of the problems that you have as a content creator. Yeah. They see the output. They don't see the amount of thinking and the intention that goes behind on these videos. But I'll tell you this, there's a solution to everything. And in you wanting to, well, first of all, what are your goals? Because our goals might be different.
Yeah. So for me, at the stage that I'm at, my goal is to launch my first business. You can call it my first business connected to my channel, but that is basically self-sufficient. So I could disconnect like my success from YouTube as playing a role in how that business performs, if that makes sense. I don't expect obviously to be losing subscribers. So it's like, how do I cultivate the audience that I have and give them something that they really find valuable, while also still giving myself the time to do that and put out the videos, and just balancing all of that basically.
Okay, so let's just break it down really easy. How much time are you putting into putting out even one video on estimate?
Yeah, man, if I had to add up I need to do that time audit we were talking about for like a couple weeks, because, I say that I got rid of probably about close to probably 30 hours of effort of the editing, because I was doing all the editing myself, but now the editors do that.
Within 1 week?
Yeah.
That's a lot of time you get back.
Right.
At least full 864. Dude, that's 3 full working business days right there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And while I have released that time to them, I feel like, well, for one, I doubled my output once I went full time, which took some of that time back. But I always just fill it with other things.
Yeah.
So I think the problem that I have right now is that I'm doing too many little things that just take up a ton of my time. As for actual hours, I'd need to probably do that time tracker to really tell. But I'm working full days, if not more than I was at my previous job on the channel, but still the only like final product are the 2 YouTube videos a week, which is kind of the issue, because if I rely on that, I mean, things could just go to, they could just go bad.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have that.
So at the end of the day, when it comes to business, especially what we can do, we all have the same amount of time within a day. But when we start filling that with like little stuff that actually doesn't really move the needle, we can get through a work day and we can be like, yo, I'm burnt, I'm toasted,
Yeah,
but then you realize, wait a second, the one activity I need to do to move the needle has not been done. Would you consider that to be a W day?
No, that's my issue right now. Is I feel like I have a lot of those days back to back of like just doing the small stuff and not focusing on the big thing.
So here's a way that I prioritize things that has helped me a lot tremendously. First of all, I mean, eventually you need to get yourself a good assistant.
Yeah.
Eventually, because I get end of day reports from my assistant every single day, and the amount of tasks that she does, it's like usually on average 30 to 50 things that she's doing that are still very important to the business, like negotiating sponsors or updating our Notion or communicating with vendors or whatever. It's still very important stuff, and those are stuff that I know I need to get done. So that first thing, eventually be able to delegate. You could have a part-time VA for now, or even have someone hourly, or just come in once a week to take that off of you. But I do realize in the beginning, you still need to do this yourself. You need to understand the process. That way you can delegate it later on and teach someone.
Right.
So first of all, it's just giving yourself that grace, like, okay, you know what, there's only so much time that I can do. But it's really, I realized YouTube, this content creation business is what I consider to be a momentum-based business.
Yeah.
The momentum is generated solely from you as a creator. If your momentum stops, your productivity stops. If you can't get into flow state and it takes you 32 hours to script one video,
right.
The business, literally the revenue, the top line goes down, because that's how big of an impact your good, deep work has.
Yeah.
So trying to get some of that back comes from delegation. It comes from being intentional within the day. So as hard as it is when you have like an email inbox with all these things and all these messages, there were times in the bull run I was like, I know I need to make this video. That's what's going to move the needle. But then, dude, I would hop in my Discord when we had like 3,000 members in there. I would say, what's up for like one message, and then boom, I'm in there for 3 hours. I'm like, yo, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, it's 3 p.m., guys.
Yeah.
I have not done any work yet. So just being really intentional there. But that's why the time auditing exercise, that's so big, man. Knowing like actually, okay, man, I'm spending like 3 hours a day actually just going back, looking at videos, watching other videos, and I'm considering that work. So really just get clear on that and get rid of those distractions. And I feel like, dude, you can, like, you're doing 2 videos a week right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend this. This is why I got burnt out. But back then I was like, my goal is like 5 videos a week. If I don't do that, then I'm like not succeeding. It's not recommended. But at the level of pace, I truly believe if you are locked in on your focus, you can absolutely, for the credit card videos that we're doing, 2 videos a week is possible. Yeah. And also think about it as this, we talked about this, the experience bar. Every time you do one video, that experience bar goes up, you level up, level 13, level 14. Yeah. When you get to level 25, bro, you could film a credit card video, no preparation, and this is why I can crank out like 5-6 videos in a day. I just, you do it for 4 or 5 years, you can make a video very easily.
Yeah, and I think, so that's something I took away from our conversation last time too, is one, I still need to do the time audit. I should have started this week. I told you I'm going on that road trip, so I've been doing a lot of prep for that, so the week wouldn't even have looked right. But I think once I get back and settled, I need to do that first. For me, the mental blockage too is, like, I haven't even thought about until we had that conversation that I could get some kind of like part-time VA. I never thought of that. Like, it just seemed too much for me to do. So I think I've limited my beliefs a little bit on what I physically can accomplish. And I think that's something, as even just like that one thing, if I was to take that one thing and hire a part-time VA to help me do smaller things, like actually publish the videos, even though, I do all the front end stuff, like that would save me so many hours in my week. So that's something I want to implement as well. But the content creation stuff is awesome. I also know that you do way more than that. So, I know you've been going for a while, and I want to hear more about your other businesses, as I'm sure other people do. Yeah. And I think that's something that eventually will come into my mind. I don't think YouTube necessarily is the end-all be-all. Mm-hmm. I think it's a big part of it. I mean, you're kind of accumulating that audience so that you can continue to do, bigger and better things. So how have you kind of parlayed your success in YouTube into other businesses?
Yeah, so it was really in the last 6 months or so, I had a realization, and I was like, YouTube is great. I can make, in my best moments of productivity, no distractions, a team that is working in flow and in sync and with the right market conditions. If the market popped off, highest end that I believe we could see just from YouTube, AdSense, affiliates, and sponsorships alone, I bet we could gross $5 million in a year, okay? Just because In the last bull run, we did about $4 million. And, that's on the conservative side of the next bull run. But $5 million is great. It's a lot of freaking money.
Yeah.
But I'm also trying to build a legacy and things to scale outside of that. Yeah. So the only way to do that without things that are in the hands of the market and things that are outside of our condition, it's building and scaling businesses.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, my goal is to not have the best, like it was for a while. It was to have the best, biggest YouTube channel that left the biggest impression on everyone. But I think that's just going to be a byproduct, and it's not the sole focus of what we're trying to achieve. Back then it was also how much money can I make?
Yeah.
And what's really cool about my journey too, if you ever find like any of our older videos, but my like income and net worth was almost 1-to-1 with my subscriber rate forever. Yeah. Up until I hit 1 million subscribers. It was 1-to-1. So when I had 10,000 subs, I had $10,000 to my name. Yeah. 100,000 subs, $100,000 to my name. 500,000 subs, 500 grand in the account. 1 million subs, it was first million. It was like 1 to. I was crazy. I was like, this is, and that was going on for four years or so. So I was like, wow, this is freaking crazy. Yeah. But the diverging point was after 1 million subscribers, and that's when things started to go a little crazy. But from all of that, the biggest lesson I've learned is that you need to have businesses. You need to have different things on the back end. You need to have products. You need to have ways that you can impact others on a higher scale. So, I mean, we got a lot. Okay, let me talk about some of the stuff that we've done so far. Okay. So I've had the membership group, okay? Yeah. I had the crypto membership group. We're revamping that because that we were doing at a time when I had no team, started this pretty much by myself at that time, and it came with all of its own headaches, people blackmailing me, people making up lies, people wanting to take our members. I mean, we had to deal with all of that. Yeah. But it's for a good reason. People knew we had money, and when people know you have money, they're going to try and want some of that as well. I don't blame them. I get it. But I had to make the conscious decision at that time, like knowing where to put my focus. Got to grow YouTube. Can't stop that. That's what feeds the membership group. But I don't have time to build a membership group. Yeah, membership group. Eventually, we scaled it hard enough. It was doing us 200 grand a month. It was and that showed me actually potential. Yeah, you can make money from other businesses. Yeah. It's not just from YouTube. And that was also an MRR business, a monthly recurring revenue. That stuff is fantastic. Then you just focus on the community. Had its headaches, how to basically bring that down. And it was when I scaled that business model, I told like 5 other creators who are now doing the same thing, and they're all doing about 90 to maybe 150 grand a month right now. That's crazy. So yeah, back then, what I should have done back then was to actually think even higher IQ on teaching other people how to make a membership group 1-to-1 on what I did, because I taught other people to do, and they're all making crazy good money. And that's why if you see some YouTubers that was like making videos in the bull run, but they completely stopped, it's because their business is making them money. Yeah. That's the goal that I'm going to get you to, bro. That's one of my goals. I'm going to help you build your business to do that. And that's like the next level of pursuit that I have. But yeah, that was a membership group. We're revamping, scaling that back again. Yeah. It's nowhere near where it was before, because before, dude, when I launched that membership group, we literally had Patreon had like a website shortage, bro. We had so many people all over the world. It was like in Australia, I would say, hey, you can join our group. It was like 6 p.m. I was doing it like a shoe drop, because there's still a level of marketing that I know just from my background of the marketing agency and e-com. I was like, listen, you can only get in this time of day. People all around the world set their calendar, set their timers. Some people are waking up at 4 a.m. They're like, Brian, can we please move this time? It's the middle. I was like, no, this is it. Yeah. Dude, I remember I launched the Patreon, and my phone, my email, my Gmail account, it was like, and I was like refreshing, and it was like, every 1 second, I would get about 10 to 20 people joining our $80 spot, $69 spot, yeah. So in one day, we made our first 75 grand. That was like the craziest day, yeah. And from there, dude, we scaled that even more. Eventually, the 200,000 a month, and that was really, really crazy too. And it's because Patreon at that time, they would charge members when they came in, and then they would charge them at the end of the month. So if they joined like in the middle of the month, they would almost get double charged. Huh. Yeah, they fixed that though, 2 months ago, or not 2 months ago, maybe a year ago. Yeah. But before then, we would also have to give a lot of refunds. Yeah. Like, we don't want to charge you guys $120, so we would have to do that. But this time around, what we did was we cut our membership price all the way down to as low as it can go, $15 right now, and then we're just going to up the price throughout the year as we get more valuable things in.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I've tested it so much. I've spent so much money on people. We're paying some people $5,000 just to be like a moderator within our group.
Yeah.
And our payroll was going up too on that business. But I learned so much now. That business model is great.
Yeah.
People just want to basically learn how to make more money. And that's through like copying people's trades or having analysts and stuff. And we found a system that we're going to scale that again. So the price of it is going to go up in the future. But right now it's nowhere near where it was before. So before, that was the height. Right now we're doing about $9-10 a month. Still not bad.
Yeah, that's a lot. Could be life-changing for somebody. Starting,
it's still not bad at all, man. It's great. And it could have been a lot higher, but because we had members who are still paying that $60-70 a month price, and they still never, I think we still have a few of them doing it, but we send all these follow-up emails.
Yeah.
Downgrade it. We'll refund you. Downgrade it. Please, I beg you. Guys, hey, whoever this is, you're paying but they still have it going. But it was great, man. That was the first time I also saw money from people buying the annual plan. So I never had anyone pay me like $5,000 or like $3,000 for multiple, like a year or multiple years. And we saw a lot of that coming in. So that was one business.
Okay.
Fantastic learning lesson. We're going to bring that up again. And our goal is to make like with all my experience, and I know like 5 more people doing it, I'm like thinking, can we even take it to another level?
Yeah.
Or could we even like merge this with like the credit card group? Like there's a lot of things that we're planning out. We bought domains for, putting the right places in. The next thing is, I would say about 1 to 2 years ago, I invested into a restaurant, put 90 grand in there, got some equity in there, took half of it out, and then, eventually now like I still get a dividend check every month, which is great.
Yeah.
So that opened up the doors for me to start learning more about brick and mortar businesses. And I'm in the process right now. Me and my fiance were looking at some wedding venues. We settled down on one, Bethesda Country Club here in the Maryland area, really good area. But dude, people would tell me wedding venues and weddings are expensive.
Yeah.
I thought they were capped, bro. I was like, it's probably expensive for you guys.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna be expensive for me. No, it's freaking expensive, bro. Yeah. Yo, it's all cap. The whole industry, in better words, it's all a scam.
Yeah.
They charge you for 8 to 12 hours of using a building, $35,000 to $45,000 on average, bro.
Yeah, that's
like
insane.
What? People are looking at Airbnbs. I'm like, bro, the money isn't making a wedding venue and just getting like the fancy schmancy stuff, getting some speakers in there. That's the money.
Yeah.
So right now we're really looking into starting businesses on that ground level.
Okay.
So a lot of the boring stuff people overlook.
Yeah.
House cleaning business, that's another really good one, man. And it's just the skill of learning about starting a business, actually committing to it, and then from there, if you fail, you fail.
Right.
You get it, you fail. But there's a possibility, if you get a good operator, you get them into that business, you can scale things to the moon. And back then, I was so reluctant in working with other people or partnering up with people, especially after the whole membership group. When people scam you, blackmail you and all that, and like take your members and then they make their own membership group with the same price and take all your members in there. All right, okay, you know what, I don't want to step into that space anymore of working with other people. I don't trust anyone. But I really just had to take a step back and learn, there are going to be rotten people out there, but that's not how everyone functions.
Yeah.
And I know there are good people out here too. So I'm collaborating with other people now, which is really great. And we're building up multiple different businesses within the credit card side. One of them, which I'm excited about, is a credit repair agency.
Yeah.
I told you about this. There's a lot of work that needs to be done because on the legal side, it's just, it's one of the most regulated, high-risk businesses. But that's why I want to get into it. So many scammers get into the credit repair space. If you've ever been DM'd, I'll repair your credit, just ask for credit Lisa or whatever, they're probably going to scam you.
Yeah.
I've seen them on Instagram countless amount of times. But because of the scammers, I want to get into this space, do it right, and have a trustworthy, reliable space or reliable business to do this in. And plus, anytime you make a business, you can also feed the lives of people who maybe hate their job, and you can get them to do something that they love. So that's one that we're pursuing right now. A lot of work on the back end of it, but we got the software. And if anyone's watching this who has experience with credit repair stuff and you want to join my team, let me know, because we are always looking for experience too on that end. But high risk business. I talked to one of my good friends, Nam, for like an hour yesterday on the phone. Yeah. He started a credit repair agency. He closed it down, and now he's approaching a new model of it because of all the headaches that came about. And then I told you about the game on YouTube.
Yeah.
Crazy guy, bro. A lot of lawsuits and stuff. So that's why high risk business, but we know how well it intertwines with everything. With all my content, with the Facebook group, everything. The other side, another really good business funding for credit cards, for getting other businesses set up with credit limits. And I saw one company, dude, that has maybe 60 employees. I've seen how they're able to scale, and then just figuring out their process of getting people, the 200K lines of credit and whatnot. And then I think that's a great business model. So we're looking into that right now too. I think the travel agency business is also fantastic. I only heard about this through my friend Ricky, Prince of Travel, and I know he's doing a great job with that right now. But basically, this is a business where if someone books you as a travel agent, usually they don't charge you money, or it's completely for free. They get the benefits, and it comes out of the hotel pockets. I love businesses where I'm making money from in that way. Like no one's paying. It's like affiliate basically. So that's really good. Yeah. Another thing I want to do on a higher level is more of masterminds too. So masterminds within the credit card space of really high level people who know what they're talking about, but then also on a creator level. So people like you and I love what we're doing here. This to me is so easy. It doesn't feel like just videos I need to make on YouTube talking about the Capital One Saver One card for the 15th time. It's just so nice. And I love just knowing that I can make an impact on a higher level one-to-one. Because digital, it's sometimes you lose sight of the impact of that.
100%. Yeah.
So we're working on that. We're working on some other products on that level. Things. When is this going to air? Actually,
it depends. I was going to probably schedule it for at least a few weeks from now.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that'll be perfect. So we got courses coming out right now, high level mentorships. Dude, even after this whole conference I'm doing, I'm thinking should I even start a consulting business and just help people solve problems immediately. But those are all things that we're building on our end. And then on top of that, we have a whole drop shipping thing going on right now. Yeah, drop shipping I'm actually the most excited about. That one, I'm working with a business partner. He did $1 million in drop shipping in the first 6 months, sold his business for $250,000, has a great formula. And right now there's a lot of outdated drop shipping content, but we have the power of AI on our side that is coming up. We have all these tools that I never had access to, and we have a formula of him being able to make a lot of money, share that with other people. So whole drop shipping space, I can see us being number one in there right now. We signed a really good deal actually with the company, multiple month deal. This was probably one of our bigger deals for this year. And that one's going to blow up right there too. So we're building out a few drop shipping stores. I think we can sell those brands or scale them, and then from there we're also starting another digital marketing agency within the DMV area. So a lot of stuff, dude. I'm not actually realizing too, I'm going full circle. I started all these businesses 5 years ago without the experience I have now. We're redoing it right now with better talent, better systems, more assistants, more talent. So so that, I don't know, what is that, 5, 6? That's 6 that we're doing. I told you, did I tell you about the credit card binder thing we were doing?
No, not in you did in the call, but not in this.
In the call. So I don't mind sharing this now because someone can take our business idea and they can flow with it, because we realize margins kind of suck on this too. Or if you guys want to team up, you're in e-com, let me know. But I was in the process of building out a credit card binder for the last 12 to 16 months. We have a supplier. We use 4 different ones, got prototypes. All of them were booty hole. We decided not to use them anymore, and now I decided it's just not worth it right now. It's not. With all these items that we're doing, even if I were selling a credit card binder at $35, say $25, bro. Reduce the price, $25. We're getting them about $8 to $12 after we get the item, and then we package it and then ship it through USPS or whatever for an item that weighs half a pound. That's about the standard rate. Margins 60%. Marketing all organic. So it's not terrible, but when you realize that it's a $25 product and you're making $10 per item, and then you get the headache of customer service and all that, it's just not worth it right now for us. But I did, bro, for that prototype, I spent $500-$600 on it. For one look, I was like, yo, no way. Because it just sucked. And I was like, this is not the passion right now that we're gonna do. But yeah, those are a few things like on the digital YouTube credit card related side, and then on even like on the brick and mortar side, we have just completely different things. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're still like
No, there's a lot that you can learn from this. So I think it's good to
okay.
hear.
Yeah. So I wanted to start a gym for a long time, realizing maybe that's not the case because in the DMV in my area, bro, all of a sudden 6-7 gyms just opened up, and the reason why they're opening up is because they are doing so well.
Yeah.
I went to a gym in my local area. I'm really good friends with the GM, and he was telling me their numbers. He's like, "Yo, Brian, I'll work for you. You pay me. I'm making this much here. If you pay me the same amount, I'll work for you. And if you start your other gym," and this gym was making $200,000 a month profit.
Jeez.
It's all teenagers, like all. It's kind of like what Alpha Lead is, like with the community. We have like a lot of creator type people in our area, but yeah, I realize I want to still like keep sanity, and I want to build what's going to impact people more than what I'm like passionate about. So if it's a passion project, I immediately recategorized all of them, put it aside. So opening a gym in DMV, put it aside. Another one too, like I want to actually own a shooting range because I love shooting and all that. And I was talking to another guy who was like the first guy to do it in DC. I talked to the owner of a shooting range in my area, in Rockville area, talk about how much would the owner sell this for. He gave me a number. It's like $3 million. And
That's a lot.
yeah, it is. But you get the land, and the thing about acquiring businesses that I only knew like less than a year ago is that buying a business, if you get a really good business plan, you can actually get these SBA government loans that a lot of people don't realize. You don't need $3 million to buy a $3 million business. What private equity firms do is they come in, they pretty much know how to flip that business inside out. So they'll probably fire people, get their people in place, and then have a whole marketing plan in order to scale it up. So they'll buy a med spa as an example. Med spa is doing $5 million a year. They'll look at all the numbers, go through the pamphlet. They'll have all their MBA, master, bachelor degree, whatever. Those people come in, analyze the numbers, and be like, okay, Spencer, you own this med spa. I know that, you guys, if we turn around this marketing, if we optimize this, if we increase margins here, we're going to make $10 million a year. They buy your business for $5 million, and then the year after that, it's grossing $10 million. So on essence, I'm not private equity. I do not have the smarts that they have, but I know on a smaller scale, if I see a business that's not doing the simple things, social media, emails, things that I'm really comfortable with, I'm more confident that I can change that business. Or the shooting range, man. Dude, half of it is empty. They got a busted bathroom. They don't do merch. They don't do any upsells, any cross sells. They don't do any marketing. It's just a dying business. That's what I see. A dying business is gross in there. And I'm like, yo, this could be state of the art, new booths, invest maybe 100, 200 grand into that business, start getting to actually make money, break even maybe in 2 to 3 years. And then from there, you can sell that business, exit it, which is a goal that I have, to start exiting some businesses, or to just keep it, scale it, and enjoy being a business owner.
Yeah. So with all of those things that you have on your plate, for one, I imagine that you can't necessarily be an expert in all of those fields, right? So I imagine that those connections probably help a lot. But how do you even like take on that amount of stuff and give the ones give them the attention that they all deserve, I guess?
Yeah. So a lot of people think managing businesses is hard, and it's not easy by any chance. But what is a business? A business, at the end of the day, I realize it's just a bunch of SOPs, all right? Procedures that people are following. It's strategic steps that you're taking in order to drive value to someone that eventually pays you money or converts. Every business, it comes down to breaking down little projects, and within a project, you have little tasks. Those tasks you can begin to outsource to other people, okay? And when you outsource it, you can actually start getting it to grow. The thing, though, is when you're early on with these businesses, you need to find really talented operators. Okay? So you cannot just go in there and think you can outsource this to 100 VAs and think that it's going to move forward. You need someone who can think on a capacity that's greater to you, that knows the industry better than you, and you come in and you fill the gap in what you do best, and that is seeing the vision, knowing the marketing, and just crossing off the simple boxes. And I just see life and business as a giant game of like 3D chess. Literally, it's just chess, man. It's just planning out the move. And a lot of people get scared when their like next move is literally you're about to put it in checkmate. You're about to win the game. You're about to
Right.
put the queen or the king, sorry, in checkmate.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just simple things. Delegation, getting good operators, and then from there, it's breaking down projects and tasks so it's digestible.
Gotcha. So it all goes back to even bringing it down back to my scale of like how important that delegation is to even starting just your first business. Like
Yeah.
it really just is that, but at scale. it
Yeah,
seems.
yeah, exactly. That's it. And I'm confident from this formula, like we have no issue hitting we're at multiple 7-figure now, then to break into the 8 to 9 figure mark. And I think 8 to 9 figure, unless you're exiting a company, it just comes down to working with the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. Have to have the connections there. Yeah, I think a big thing about it too is that it seems that you don't have any limiting beliefs on what you could do. Like you're not even just your skill set, but the people that you know, the confidence in your ability to just like take any business really it seems that you're passionate about and turn it into something great, which I think a lot of people, including myself, have struggled with of that, like just that having that confidence. So I guess what do you think someone like myself could do in that case to be like, hey, there's more than just X achievable. We can go up to Y here.
Well, what's holding you back?
That's a good question. I think it's really just. I think the easy answer. I'll say this first. I think the easy answer for me to say is time, but that's not a real excuse considering we have the same amount of time and you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So like that's not an excuse. I think maybe for me it's really just not taking that step, right? And to get that first one started, because to get to the scale that you're at, it takes the knowledge, it takes the skills, but it also takes the capital to be able to find the right operators and have them, be able to work for you or with you. And that I don't have yet, but that's because I haven't taken that first step in starting something outside of YouTube. So maybe that's what it is.
And why haven't you started though? Outside of the capital, outside of all of that?
I think it's just the lack of prioritization, probably. Like I get stuck in my ways of I'm doing YouTube, and that's all the focus is right now, which I think is powerful to a degree. Like without the YouTube, I wouldn't really have anything.
That's what fuels everything else.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, now that's not it. Like if I look at myself in 10 years, do I want to be doing exactly what I'm doing today? No, I want to be able to expand this into something bigger, but that requires me to take a step, which I need to be doing better. Yeah.
I think right now, man, you're doing everything that you can within just your capacity, because there is the error in when you try to do too many things in the beginning all at once, nothing moves.
Right.
So it's really just getting good at one thing at the end of the day. It's just getting good at one thing and then moving and scaling from that. And I think what's great about YouTube is if you get really good at YouTube, the horizon on that is just so amazing, man. Opportunities, networking, collaborations, partnerships with other creators, with even the audience, like someone who's talented within the audience watching this, they might resonate and then they come and work for you. Or even just, on the broader scale of like companies and YouTube channels. But I think you're doing everything you can actually right now.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good to hear. I think I also am somebody that has a really big like mental emphasis on like thinking in the future. I think that comes from like my childhood too. But at the same time, if I live in the present, I'm like, okay, what is the most important thing today? Like we were talking about earlier, and am I accomplishing that? I still think I can do a lot better on that, and not getting distracted in the little things. But it's cool, I think, to have this conversation because we are just at different scales. Like I said, you are those couple of steps ahead of me to where I want to be. But how can I relate that to where I'm at right now? And basically what you've been saying this whole time is what I need to hear at my level, I think. So I think everybody would appreciate you talking about this and hopefully learn a lot. So I appreciate you even being open about it. A lot of people wouldn't be open about all this. So
for me, literally my goal is like I want to see you guys win. Like,
Yeah.
whether it's you or just the audience. I love seeing people win. That's what drives me. When I hear about people in my area that, like my dropshipping business partner, he's like, he'll dap me up and be like, yo, I'm only here because of you. And that's like, that stuff like really means so much to me when I hear that. And I realize I find a lot of purpose in knowing that I'm legit like improving other people's lives.
Yeah.
Because at a point it was about money. It was. But that's, I think, one of the reasons why I got burnt out. It's like you have $1 million, but then it's like, what's next? All right, you buy all the things. What's next? But man, I love if I know what I say to you, like you put it into action and it actually makes a big difference and it's moving your needle in the goals that you're trying to hit.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. I've really appreciated too that in all of our conversations so far, it doesn't necessarily have to be prompted by me to bring things up. Like you've messaged me first, which holds me accountable because a lot of times from a smaller channel perspective, I expect to reach out to a lot of bigger creators and they don't have the time to answer, which is completely understandable. I can see where that comes from. But for you, it's like you don't really have a ton of time to be doing that, but you still prioritize it and also follow up on your own, which I think is just a testament to your character. So I appreciate that too.
Oh, I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah.
For me, when I started doing all this, I wish that there were more larger creators that I like to show love in the ways that maybe I didn't see the love. So when I was your size and I saw the other big channels, I was like, please notice me. I was like, please help me. And they didn't. Like some people are very transactional. Like they only care about what is in it for them.
Yeah.
But dude, like business itself, it's more than that too.
Yeah.
People think it's like, oh, you have to, like, you need to pay me for this type of, it's like, nah, bro, like just show your love. It's going to go a long way.
Yeah.
And then eventually the money comes. And I've learned that. And that's why for me, whatever I do, it just lines up with what I believe in, and my faith too right now.
Yeah.
So like, I appreciate you saying that, bro.
Yeah, of course. So I guess just wanting to bring this all to like a conclusion here, I think a lot of people watching, well, for one, obviously we have a big credit card fan base. That's what people are here for. But through my Creator Conversations series, I've seen how people really just resonate with us. Like we all are like-minded. So maybe this is a two-part thing, but one, specifically for people that are like wanting to do what you've done on YouTube or wanting to even do what I'm doing on YouTube at a smaller scale, I guess what advice would you have to them to keep pushing through those earlier struggles that you had with like burnout and stuff like that? But then also just for like the greater picture of like people that just want to better their lives, what kind of advice do you have to just get people through those hard times?
Wow, good question, bro. As a younger creator, when I first started, I just wish that someone would tell me that it would be okay. Not even tell me that I'm gonna succeed or I'm gonna make one day, maybe even like my first $100,000. I wish at more times I knew that it was gonna be okay. And if I were to tell like any small creators, I know it's hard in the beginning and I know like most of the time it seems impossible, but it is fully, the way I operate now is just, I see so much more abundance. I see so much more opportunity. And the moments in the beginning is when you're building, it's actually, now I'm realizing, I realized this maybe just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Those are probably the best moments I've had, like in that struggle, in the process, in the journey. And I picked this up today actually from Brandon Bouchard, but he was talking about the dichotomy of the journey and the destination.
Yeah.
As people, we're all so focused on the destination. Like, I'm only going to be happy when I hit 1 million subscribers. I'm only going to be happy when I make my first $1 million. But it's almost all like an illusion.
Yeah.
The fulfillment we get is not by hitting those destinations and hitting those goals. If you live a life that way, you're going to live a very empty life. It's this moment right now. It's like us doing this podcast right now. It's us like anticipating, getting some food after this.
Yeah.
This is the moment that we're living for. Or if someone's watching this video, if you're watching this video in the morning, you have some work to do, or you're eating right now and you're listening to this. It's this moment here today that you're listening to this video where you're on the journey of trying to improve yourself, that you're on the right path.
Yeah.
And it's reminding yourself that, and knowing that there is like this is it. This is the thing. And every struggle, the best part about the struggles is that the struggles don't last.
Yeah.
And like being a creator that you don't see yourself as successful, that doesn't last for long.
Yeah.
So, I've been really thinking more too about my YouTube journey, just because there are things that are still outside of our control, like getting a lot of views. That's one thing I would say, dude, make the best content in the world, things that you're proud of, but you can get no amount of views.
Yeah.
So what I'm working on right now is finding ways where we can solve that issue too.
Yeah.
We know that there are people like yourself that are making YouTube videos. You guys love doing it and you want to take it full time. How can we do it where you're doing something that you love that you're still able to, grow abundantly financially with?
Yeah.
So I realized there is a formula too where you do not need to get a lot of views. You can get, bro, like 5,000 views per video and still make $100,000, $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
The opportunities right now are limitless, and I think it's just figuring that out, learning the system on that, and then executing. And I didn't have the resource. I had to learn all of this the hard way. So right now what we're trying to do is figure out a process where we can teach other people to do that.
Yeah.
So similar to what I'm doing, like, helping you as much as possible. I want to know if there's a way I can still do this to people in your situation, or even get you to a place where you tell me like, yo, Brian, in 6 months from now, like, thank you for, taking this time that you gave me where we talked and it actually made a difference. So those are things I'm really trying to bridge right now. I want other people to be involved in it too in any way possible. One recent idea that came about, I didn't even know this existed actually. Did you know about CardCon?
Yeah, actually, I think I did through my affiliate.
Yeah, so I heard about it from the Built newsletter that they were telling me about in there, and then I was like, CardCon, what is that? So I looked into it, saw it today. Yeah. I'm even thinking that's like a good opportunity for us to do something. Yeah. Where maybe get some other credit card YouTubers along in there, collaborate within the space. So I'm thinking about getting my ticket there. I'm gonna talk to the guy who is running the event. I think his name is Jason Steele. I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow in a meeting. Nice. But I mean, all of these things, man, the reason why I even bring that up too is because there is power in community. Yeah. There is power in just being around, whether it's people 1 step ahead of you, 10 step ahead of you, whatever it is, and just being able to be surrounded in that presence. It's something I really wish that I had, when I first started. Yeah. And I want to be able to give you guys that accessibility, or give you even more of that too. Yeah.
I mean, I've already gotten so much value from you in the few hours that we've gotten to talk, and it is tough because it'd be nice to be able to do that at scale, but also you want that one-on-one interaction with people. So exactly. It makes it tough, but I think that a lot of people will find it valuable. I think that's why something like this is very valuable, because even though you're not talking one-on-one with these people, they get to hear your experience, and it's inspirational not just to me, but to them too. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of ways that you can share your experience in a way to help people expedite their painful process a little bit. Yeah. At the end of the day, no one's ever going to be able to get rid of those painful moments, and that I think is part of the fun of the journey. Yeah. Like you'll be able, you look back on your journey and you remember those hard times. But
yeah, dude, 100%. And I just wish that I had someone who solved it and would tell me, yo, don't stress about this. Right. So if you have issues like that, just hit me up. Like, yo, this is mad stress. Like, bro, my AdSense got cut in half, and I would just tell you, don't stress. Here's what you need to do with your, bring up affiliates, just crank out content, plant these type of videos here. And there's a solution to everything. So don't ever let one L just cloud your judgment thinking, oh, now I'm going to have to go back to this, or, YouTube, I'm going to have to turn in the towel. Yeah. It's not true.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I know probably should get going pretty soon here to go get some food. I just want to say again, thank you for talking with me today. Thank you for talking to everybody else. I probably could have paid a lot of money to have a talk like this, so I just appreciate you being open and honest with everything.
It's all good, my brother. And dude, I'm really appreciative of being here. Yeah.
It's a great city, huh? Austin.
Dude, Austin's nice. I love coming here every single time, man. Yeah. And this is fantastic. And dude, thanks for pulling up here. The setup.
Hopefully everything went well. We'll see.
Yeah, but I think it did.
Trying out some new mics and everything, but
yeah. So any last words for you guys? Just follow us on Instagram if you haven't done so already, and then subscribe to Spencer's channel if somehow you aren't. If you guys want to see more videos like this, comment down below. Also, with your favorite point of this video, timestamp it too. Whatever you found resonated with you the most. And maybe we can elaborate on those things, or we'll just be able to expand on that in a future conversation. But we appreciate you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
And we're about to get some grub, but I appreciate you guys. See y'all soon.
Sweet, man.
All right.